미안하다. 깜빡했다, 셀카. 잘 자라. 난 씻고 자러 간다. 수고해라.
What if everything RMY believed about Jungkook's biggest dream was only the surface of a much deeper story? What if the dream millions of fans had imagined for years was never the dream he secretly carried in his heart? And what if one quiet night changed everything forever? Before we begin this emotional journey, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you would do if you were in Jungkook's position. And if you enjoy fictional BTS stories filled with mystery, emotion, and unforgettable moments, make sure to like this story and subscribe for more. For years, the world believed they understood Jungkook. They watched him perform on gigantic stages, break records, and inspire millions with his incredible talent. Every smile, every performance, and every achievement seemed to tell the same story. People assumed his greatest dream was to become the biggest artist in the world, to win more awards, to perform in larger stadiums, and to continue reaching new heights. But no one knew what happened on a quiet evening after the lights had faded. The city outside was unusually calm. The rain gently touched the windows as Jungkook sat alone in a small room, surrounded not by trophies or cameras, but by silence. His phone rested beside him, filled with thousands of unread messages from fans around the world. Yet instead of opening them, he stared at an old notebook lying on the table. The notebook had followed him for years. Inside were dreams he had written long before millions knew his name. He slowly opened the first page. The handwriting was uneven, the ink slightly faded, but every word remained clear enough to remind him of the person he used to be. I don't want people to remember me because I'm perfect. He paused. I want people to remember how I made them believe in themselves. He quietly smiled. Outside, the rain became heavier. For the first time in a long while, he wondered whether the world had mistaken his success for his real destination. The following morning, an unexpected visitor arrived. It was an elderly music teacher who had once encouraged him during his earliest days of training. The teacher looked older now, his hair almost completely grey, but his warm smile had never changed. I found something that belongs to you, the teacher said as he handed Jungkook a sealed envelope. Jungkook frowned. I thought this disappeared years ago. So did I. Slowly, he opened it. Inside was a letter addressed to his future self. He had written it when he was only 15. His hands trembled. He unfolded the paper carefully. If you're reading this, I hope you didn't forget why you started singing. His breathing slowed. I hope you didn't become someone who only chased applause. He swallowed. I hope you found people whose lives became brighter because of your voice. Tears quietly formed in his eyes. The teacher remained silent. Some memories did not need explanations. After several minutes, the teacher finally spoke. Do you remember what you told me after practice one evening? Jungkook shook his head. You said your biggest dream wasn't to become famous. Jungkook looked up. You said your biggest dream was to become someone's reason not to give up. The room became completely silent. Those words echoed louder than any stadium filled with cheering fans. For years, awards had filled shelves. Albums had broken records. Concerts had sold out within minutes. Yet somewhere along the journey, the simple dream of comforting even one person had quietly become hidden beneath expectations. That evening, Jungkook decided to take a walk without security, without cameras, and without any schedule. He wore a simple hoodie and quietly wandered through familiar streets. Nobody recognized him. He stopped outside a small music school. Inside, several children were practicing together. One little boy struggled to sing a single note. Again, and again, and again. The teacher gently encouraged him to keep trying. Jungkook stood outside, watching through the window. He suddenly remembered himself. The frightened teenager who doubted every performance. The trainee who wondered whether he was good enough. The young dreamer who feared disappointing everyone around him. The little boy inside finally managed to sing the note correctly. His face immediately lit up with the brightest smile. Everyone applauded. Jungkook smiled too. Not because the note was perfect, but because hope had just been born. At that exact moment, something inside him quietly changed. Maybe dreams were never about reaching the highest mountain. Maybe dreams were about helping others find the courage to climb their own. As he continued walking through the peaceful streets, he looked up at the night sky. Millions of stars quietly decorated the darkness. He whispered almost to himself, "My biggest dream." He paused. Was never about standing above everyone else. It was always about standing beside people when they needed hope the most. The wind gently carried those words away. Unknown to him, the journey that would reveal this hidden dream had only just begun. The next morning arrived with an unusual sense of peace. The sun slowly rose above the city skyline, casting a warm golden glow across the buildings, but inside Jungkook's heart, a quiet storm was beginning to settle. The memories from the previous night refused to disappear. Every sentence from the letter he had written as a teenager echoed louder than any applause he had ever heard. It was strange how a few forgotten words could outweigh years of achievements. He stood by the window with a cup of coffee in his hands. The city was already awake. Cars moved through the streets, people hurried toward their destinations, and somewhere in the distance, music drifted through the morning air. Everything looked exactly the same as it always had, yet nothing felt the same anymore. His manager called to remind him about another packed schedule. Interviews, rehearsals, meetings, photo shoots, and discussions about future projects filled the entire day. Normally, Jungkook would simply nod and prepare himself without hesitation. This time, however, he hesitated for a brief moment. As he looked at his calendar, he couldn't stop thinking about the children he had watched practicing at the small music school. One question continued repeating itself. When was the last time music simply felt like music? Not a competition. Not a performance. Not a responsibility. Just music. Hours later, he arrived at the company building where everyone greeted him with their usual smiles. Staff members congratulated him for another successful project, producers discussed exciting plans, and photographers prepared for an upcoming promotional shoot. Every conversation revolved around success. Success. The word had become so common that it almost lost its meaning. During a short break, Jungkook quietly walked into one of the empty practice rooms. The mirrors reflected countless memories. He remembered practicing until sunrise, repeating the same choreography hundreds of times, refusing to leave until every movement felt perfect. Back then, exhaustion had never frightened him. Failure had. He slowly sat on the wooden floor and looked around the empty room. For a few minutes, there was only silence. Then he noticed something resting in the corner. An old acoustic guitar. Its strings looked slightly worn, but it was still beautiful. He picked it up and gently brushed his fingers across the strings. A soft melody filled the room. Without thinking, he began humming. There were no microphones.
No cameras. No expectations.
Just one voice. One guitar. One forgotten feeling. The melody was simple. It wasn't designed for stadiums. It wasn't written for charts. It sounded more like a conversation than a song. As he continued playing, someone quietly knocked on the open door. It was one of the younger trainees. The teenager looked nervous. "I'm sorry," the trainee said softly. "I didn't mean to interrupt." Jungkook smiled. "It's okay." The trainee hesitated before speaking again. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Were you ever scared?" Jungkook laughed quietly. "Every single day." The trainee looked surprised. "But everyone thinks you were always confident."
No.
"I just learned to keep walking even when I was afraid." The trainee lowered his head. "I'm thinking about giving up." Those words immediately caught Jungkook's attention. "Why?" "I don't think I'll ever be good enough." The room became silent again. Jungkook remembered saying almost the exact same words years earlier. He placed the guitar beside him and motioned for the trainee to sit down. "You know," he began, "people usually think confidence comes before success." The trainee listened carefully. "But most of the time, confidence comes after surviving moments when you wanted to quit." The trainee looked into his eyes. "What if I fail?" Jungkook smiled gently. "Then you'll discover that failure isn't the end." "What is it then?" "A teacher." The young trainee remained silent. "My biggest improvements happened after my biggest disappointments." For nearly an hour, they talked about dreams, fear, pressure, and loneliness. Not once did they discuss awards. Not once did they mention rankings. When the trainee finally stood to leave, His expression had completely changed. "Thank you." Jungkook simply nodded. As the door closed behind the young performer, he suddenly realized something unexpected. Helping just one person had brought him more happiness than the entire day's schedule. That evening, he decided to return to the small music school he had visited the night before. This time, he entered the building. Children filled the hallways with laughter. Parents waited patiently outside classrooms. The sounds of pianos, violins, and singing blended together into beautiful chaos. The principal welcomed him warmly, though she politely respected his wish to keep the visit private. "I'd like to observe today's lesson," Jungkook said. She smiled. "You're always welcome." Inside one classroom, a young girl sat alone in a corner. She wasn't singing. She wasn't smiling. She simply stared at the floor. The teacher quietly explained that the girl had lost confidence after making mistakes during a recital. No matter how much everyone encouraged her, she refused to sing again. Jungkook slowly walked over and sat beside her. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. Finally, he asked softly, "Do you like music?" She nodded without looking up. "Then why aren't you singing?" "I'm afraid people will laugh." He smiled sadly. "I know that feeling." She looked at him for the first time. "Really? More than you can imagine." She frowned. "But you're..." She stopped before saying his name aloud. Jungkook simply laughed. "I've made more mistakes than you could count." "You have. Hundreds. Thousands, probably." The little girl looked confused. "But people think you're perfect." "No one is." He picked up a nearby guitar and quietly played the simplest melody he could remember. Then, intentionally, he sang one line completely off-key. The children burst into laughter. Jungkook laughed too. "You see." Everyone looked surprised. "I made a mistake." The girl slowly smiled. And the world didn't end. The classroom erupted into gentle laughter once again. A few moments later, the girl carefully stood up. Her hands were shaking. She closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Then she sang. Her voice wasn't perfect. It didn't need to be. When she finished, every child in the room applauded. Not because she had sung flawlessly, but because she had found the courage to sing at all. Jungkook felt something warm inside his heart. The applause sounded different this time. It wasn't celebrating perfection. It was celebrating bravery. As the evening sky turned orange outside the classroom windows, he quietly thanked the teachers before leaving. Walking home alone once again, he realized that perhaps his greatest dream had never changed. It had simply been waiting for him beneath years of expectations, fame, and endless schedules. Maybe the brightest spotlight was never the one on stage. Maybe it was the light that appeared in someone's eyes after they found hope again. Jungkook looked toward the fading sunset and smiled. He had spent years believing he needed to inspire millions all at once. Now he understood something much simpler. Changing one life at a time could be just as meaningful. Little did he know, someone had quietly been watching these moments from a distance. And that mysterious person carried a secret connected to the letter Jungkook had written years ago. A secret capable of changing everything he believed about his own journey.